Conversations, real talk, real life, real faith. Coffee and conversations, real talk, real life, real faith. Coffee and conversations.
All right, welcome to Coffee and
Conversation. Y'all see our little cups? Aren't these cute? Welcome.
Welcome to Coffee and Conversations. We are here today ready to just get in, dig in, have some fun, have great discussion, and drink a good cup of Joe.
With French vanilla creamer.
See, and that's where we differ.
Don't.
Because I'm a hazelnut guy. I like my hazelnut. I'm a hazelnut guy. And so because I'm a hazelnut guy, I'm always looking to have hazelnut creamer. And so that hazelnut creamer is just what excites me. It's what excites me. And so thank you for joining today. We are going to get into a little coffee and conversations.
And let me just say, this is new for us, so give us some grace. We're still learning how to navigate through this platform. So thank you all again for joining us for a coffee and conversation. Real talk, real life, real faith. So hopefully you all were able to hear the little intro. And so want to be mindful of the time. So we're going to get right into it. As my husband just said, grab your favorite mug, meet us for an uplifting time of connection, encouragement, and meaningful dialogue. No pressure, just authentic conversation in a safe space. You belong at this table.
That's right. That is right.
So our conversation theme for today, we're going to talk about healing while still showing up. And I thought this was a very, very deep but yet much needed topic.
Absolutely.
Because we're all healing from something. And guess what? Life doesn't pause just because we're healing.
Right.
And so how do you navigate through that while you're healing, while you're still lifing? How do you still heal? And you still have responsibilities, whether that's a parent, whether that's a leader, a husband, a wife, a friend, a confidant. All of that matters. And so we really want to dialogue this morning about what all that looks like while still showing up.
Absolutely.
And can you look, we need to be more centered, honey, so that people can see you, because it looks like we're cut off.
Yeah, for some reason the frame just got a little smaller, but that's okay. We'll work with it. Let me say this. This is a podcast. And so, all of your communication, if you want to communicate back to us because we're live, will be through the chat. We won't have a podcast where we're sharing, because this is not a visitor when we bring a visitor on, but it will all come through the chat. And so, let's get into it. Let's talk about some of these things revolving around healing while still showing up.
And let us know in the chat if you can't see us, because that could be a little irritating where you can see half of my face or half of his face.
Absolutely.
So let us know if you cannot see us in the chat. Let us know.
Let us know. Absolutely. So, man, this is a strong paradox. It's exhausting. And the reason that it's exhausting is because usually healing while still showing up involves us mending our internal world where we're still trying to meet the demands of the external world.
Absolutely.
And so what happens is the external world is telling us, I need you to be there. I need you to be present. But then we're in a situation where we need to have some time so that we can heal, so that when I'm present, you get the full me and not just pieces of me.
Yeah.
So I guess it becomes, so how do you keep showing up for your family, your calling, your leadership, and your responsibilities while you're still healing?
Good question. Really good question.
How do you do that? And so come on, use your chat. Come on, type some information in, help us, go through this with us. But how do you do that? Because that's tough. It's tough to show up while you're still going through some things. I remember a time when I was going through some things and I had to show up at work and the demands were still there. I still was expected to perform and to perform at a certain level. But in that same token, I also needed a moment. I needed a moment to take a breather so that while I'm taking that breather, I could at least, begin to resolve some of my own internal issues and internal things that I needed to discuss. So just trying to do that, it's hard. It can be hard.
It is, and I think a big misconception is that people got to be fully healed before they operate in their purpose.
Right, right.
And I think that's a part of how the enemy keeps us
Hmm.
in bondage and enslaved,
Yeah,
by that type of thinking.
yeah,
You got to be fully healed before you operate in your purpose.
yeah.
When the reality of it is, and I know this personally,
Hmm.
that God used my healing journey
Hmm.
to produce my purpose.
Yeah,
So as I was being healed, my purpose became more obvious. It became more evident.
absolutely.
And full transparency, it's not easy showing up though
It's not.
while you're healing.
It's not. It's not. And the reason, one of the things that you find out, because when you're going through this healing, one of the things that you find out is you find out if you are careful and listening and watching yourself and assessing and being active in doing those things, you find out how you really need to be navigating situations. That's why
Absolutely.
it's so important that when you need to take a moment, that you take a moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes we try to push through the moment and not realize. But here's where it becomes a paradox, because sometimes when you're healing, you need to take a retreat. And then sometimes when you're healing, you don't need to take a retreat. You actually need to just be there, be present, because what you're going through is actually providing something to you that's helping you through your process.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And even when you're saying that, thank y'all for the comments in the chat. And honey, why don't you look at the chat while I say this? I wanted to
Absolutely.
say that it's important while you're healing to learn to tend to your wounds as
Hmm.
need. Because what happens is, again, remember, we're talking about showing up while still healing. So that
Hmm.
means you have to give that healing piece a part of your time. You have to nurture that. You have to steward that
Yeah,
healing piece. Because one of the things I've learned is I need to take time to tend to my wounds today, because I'm showing up but I'm not dealing with the healing.
yeah.
Oh, that was good
That's
right
good.
there. I'm
That's
not
good.
dealing with the healing.
Yeah,
So I've learned, and I'm still in the ing of this, it's okay to take a pause for the cause
yeah.
and tend to my wounds. Because the way I attend to my wounds, the way I give attention to that healing, it helps me show up better
I agree.
in the spaces I need to show up. So
I
I
agree.
definitely want to make that point. Don't get so caught up in showing up that you don't take time to tend to your wounds.
Absolutely. And I agree. I mean, I'm looking at the chat responses here, and we've got stay present, intentional, and focused. And
Absolutely.
that is, man, that is like the rhythm of staying in the groove and continue to do what you do, because you need to be there. And so you
Right.
have to stay present. You have to stay intentional. You have to stay focused. And sometimes I've learned that actually going to work or actually being engaged in something else helps me to take my mind off of the current situation, and
Mm-hmm.
which then allows me to if I'm utilizing the time right, to start meditating on God's word and really allowing that word to perform that surgery on me, or to saturate those areas of my mind and my heart where I need Him the most in that particular moment.
I
So,
agree. I agree.
and it's tough to do, staying present, intentional. It's tough to do
It
because you
is.
find yourself sometimes looking off, drifting off into space, and your mind for a moment has taken you to that place, and it's still trying to process it.
Yeah.
That is so, man, that's so apropos. But the other side of this is, it's also a reflection when you can't stay present. that you need a moment.
Mm-hmm.
You
take
need
a
a moment.
pause for the cause.
Yeah, you got to have a moment, because here's the thing: if you don't take a moment to get healed,
Mm-hmm.
then you can't help the person that you're showing up for.
That's right.
And what happens is, while they're sharing with you all of their issues, it turns into just a dialogue where we're just sharing what's going on, and it's like, really, I'm coming to you for help, but you really can't help me because you're in a dire straits yourself. So I think we have to take time.
Yeah, that's true. And I was thinking about something that I was dealing with a few weeks ago, and I shared this with you. And the Holy
Mhm.
Spirit said to me, "You can only expect people to show up at the
Absolutely.
level at which they're healed."
That's it.
I was like,
That's
that
so
right
true.
there,
Yeah.
that got me.
Yeah.
And so not only was it a direct revelation for
Mhm.
somebody else, but it was also a direct revelation for me.
Absolutely.
So God was showing me, you need to also do some self-assessing and some self-reflecting so that you can show up better in spaces that you're healed from.
Right. Right.
And so you can only show up in the level by which you're healed. That's why what we're saying is take the time to nurture and steward your healing journey.
Man.
And the other piece to that is, I remember this sermon I preached years ago, and it was about a wound, the care of a wound. And one of the things I learned in the research is there are so many layers to the skin. So when we get a wound, we see the surface layer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what we don't understand is wounds heal from the inside up.
Right.
And beneath that surface of where we see that wound or that sore are all these layers of skin that has to heal. And then that's when we see the scab at the top. Right. And so that scab is an indicator of the process of the healing. That
Absolutely.
You're almost at a place where you're healed because now you can see the scab. And so one of the things that we need to remember is that as we're going through this healing journey, as we're healing while we're showing up, there are layers to the healing, and we can't rush the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We cannot rush the process. And sometimes we'll try and rush that process. And I was talking to God about that this morning, and just about how different and difficult this thing is, because sometimes when we are going through healing, I mean, think about it. When we hurt our ankle, and especially when you get older, you hurt your ankle, you go to the doctor,
and everything connected to it.
Yeah, we want a quick recovery. We want a very quick recovery. And because we want a quick recovery, we want to be able to get healed. We want to be able to get back to doing all the things that we were doing before. We want to be able to respond to life and all those things. But there are some times, and man, I'm just going to throw it out here. There are some times that we're hurt, and we've experienced some either big T trauma or little T traumas, but there's been some exposures, there's been some things that have happened to us in our life, and there are times where we will prolong our own healing process.
Wow.
It's like when your ankle is hurting and you still want to get out and put a shoe on it and try to apply regular pressure. You're prolonging your entire process of healing. And not only do we prolong it, but even when the ankle heals, it can't heal correctly because we didn't stay off of it to allow the bone to bone process to come into place.
Wow.
So we've got to be careful when we're going through a healing process that we're not putting more pressure on ourselves, and we're keeping what is broken. Because it'll look healed, because you can get it in a shoe, but like I know, when you get ready to put that pressure on it, you can't even apply pressure to it. Because if you do, you're going to repeat the fracture, repeat the break. Man, I know I just opened something up there. Come on, throw me a chat, throw me something.
Throw you a chat.
But in the chat. So we have to be we have to be cognizant of where we're at in our healing process.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to be cognizant. And what I mean by that is you've got to know where you are. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why when you go to the doctor, they show you that chart and say from 1 to 10, tell me where you are. You
Mhm.
need to talk about where your pain index is.
Yeah.
And if your pain index is high, then you may need to take, sometimes we need to take a step back and say, you know what, I want to be everything that you need me to be at this moment, but I can't. I need to take a short sabbatical. I need to take a moment just to back up so that I can focus on some internal things so I can be good for you when you need me. Because right now I need some help myself.
Yeah, and let's shift right here to just some more questions to continue to engage you all. How do you show up responsibly without pretending you're okay?
Mm.
How do you do that? Because, a lot of people like where they say wear your emotions on your sleeves
Mhm.
and you don't want people to know what's going on. You're very private, or maybe
Mhm.
you're an introvert. How do you show up responsibly without pretending you're okay?
Wow,
How do you do that?
that's good.
How do you show up responsibly without pretending you're okay?
That's a
I
good
think for
question.
me, you have to be very mindful and intentional with who you are vulnerable with in your healing journey. Everybody don't need to know you're healing.
Yeah.
You don't need to wear band-aids everywhere and everybody, well, what's going on? You know how you go to the hospital and they give you that band? Sometimes we like to wear those bands, if you will,
Yeah.
for attention so that people can
Man.
see that we're healing and we're going through. But
You just
we
said
have
a
to
lot.
really learn to be intentional with who we are vulnerable with
Yeah.
while we are healing.
Selective vulnerability.
So, I like that.
Yeah.
Selective vulnerability. How do
Yeah.
you show up responsibly? I'm going to let you all think about that and drop some responses in the chat while, honey, you sort of dialogue about that part. How do you
Yeah,
show up
that's-
responsibly without pretending
Yeah.
you're okay?
So that is so important. Selective vulnerability. That's basically when we show up and we understand that when I show up, I don't owe that person every aspect of my life.
Right.
Although they love me and they want the best for me, they see the best for me. I have this type of relationship with them, and it has been long going. There's still areas in my life where I need to make sure I protect it. So with selective vulnerability, that's when you stop and you step in and you start using a personal script. And the personal script that you use would say something like, I'm navigating some personal issues right now. And I
like
just
that.
need,
So you come up with a script that you
Yeah.
can sort of say to people,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's showing up responsibly without pretending you're okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we just tell them, I'm navigating some personal issues today, and I'm going to do my best to stay focused on whatever this task is, or whatever it is that we're
Mhm.
doing. But we're letting the person know that we're
I'm
we're
dealing
going
with some
through some
stuff.
things.
But here's what irritates me. Why do people not share that, but then expect you to know that? I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I have a problem with people who don't have enough relational or emotional intelligence
Come on.
to articulate that.
Yeah.
But they expect you to know that. All you got to do is say, you know what, give me some. I respect people that say, you know what, dealing with some stuff, give me some space.
Yeah.
I'll come back around and try to be a better version of myself at another point. But right now, like what you just said,
Yeah.
I'm going, but it takes a level of what? Vulnerability,
Yeah.
Self-assessing to be able to come to the realization that you have to come up with that script.
Yeah, absolutely. And that means that I need to know how I'm showing up.
Oh, that's
I
good.
got to be aware of how I'm showing up.
You got to know how you're showing
I
up.
gotta know
So
I'm
what does
showing
that
up.
mean? You have to let people be able to tell you, because how you going to know how you showing up if somebody doesn't say, hey, you showing up a little different in this space. Is everything okay?
I think it's a balance of both.
Okay.
I think it's a balance of both. I think on your ride to wherever you're going, I think as you are logging on to whatever the event is, I think that we have to have that internal engagement with ourselves to tell ourselves truly where we're at and what we're going through. And we have to be able to decide whether or not, if I'm asked, this is the information I'm willing to give up, or based off your relationship, how accountable do you want to be to the person that you're having a relationship with? Because if I love you enough where I want to give you my best, I love you enough where you know what my output is, and I want to make sure that you always see me handling things the way that I normally handle things. But if I'm showing up to a place and I know that my mind is not truly focused and I got some personal issues that just happened and it's eating at me, I might have to be selective in that vulnerability. I might have to tell you, you know what? I'm going through some personal things right now. And I apologize. I am here. I am going to be as focused as I possibly can. I know I have committed to being here for the entire time.
Right.
And I may make it. I may not make it. This gives the person that we're telling this to the opportunity to come back and encourage us.
Yeah.
This gives them the opportunity to share in that burden with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I see some of y'all talking in the chat. So very true. Lots of people can't handle your vulnerability because they're hiding their own pain. So true.
Yeah.
And self-assessment is needed. I wanted to say this little point right here real quick, and then we can go even a little deeper in the discussion. So this key idea says showing up doesn't mean suppressing pain. It means managing it while going through it.
That's it.
Oh my God.
That's it.
That's a mouthful. Showing up doesn't mean suppressing pain. It means managing it while going through it. So is managing that pain, does that look different for different people? Let's talk about that. What is managing? Because when we say that, I'm sure you all thinking, okay, well, what is managing the pain? What does that look like? Because we already talked about being vulnerable, coming up with the script, trusting God to take you through that journey, showing up while you're still healing. Well, a part of showing up while you're still healing is learning to manage the pain and not suppress it. What does that mean when you talk about managing the pain?
Man, that's a broad scope. Because in my opinion, that's a broad scope, because sometimes I think what we do is we consciously or unconsciously, we allow wherever we're showing up at to dictate how we manage our pain.
Oh, we allow wherever we're showing up at.
Yeah.
So are you saying there's like a control knob on how we manage the pain? So if I'm showing up over here, my pain is managed different according to the space that I'm in?
It can be, yeah. There's a lot of knobs to this, because I think sometimes it's we've been taught and we've heard it from over the pulpit, and we've heard it from phone conversations, we've heard it from a lot of places, fake it till you make it.
Right.
And so what happens is, instead of us showing up and giving whatever it is that we're doing our passion, we're giving it a performance. And so we're there to perform. We know that we can't make it through this moment. We know this is a tough moment, but because of the where we're showing up to, sometimes we're letting those places dictate to us what we need to do and how we need to show up. Because if we show up less than we've ever showed up before, then we know that person is going to have something to say, or that's going to be a conversation for a later date, or they're going to feel some sort of way. This goes back to having that conversation, but it also goes back to being able to have compassionate productivity. Sometimes I need to lower my productivity as I'm letting you know this and say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna give myself a day off, and instead of trying to be perfect, I'm just gonna try and get it done.
And I like that you said that, because sometimes when we show up in those spaces that you were just talking about, we show up in the ugliest form of our healing and expect the other people to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Whether it's on the job, whether it's in our home, whether it's with our family members, we show up in a bad way and expect everybody else to just deal with it, when I go back to the comment I made earlier, if we have emotional and relational intelligence, back to what you said earlier, we're able to come up with that script and really share where we are. We're able to be vulnerable and let people know where we are, so that then at that point, we're able to move forward in a better version.
So I'm gonna poke the bear, and I know we don't have much time left, but I gotta poke the bear.
Okay.
I gotta poke the bear. I wouldn't be who I am and operate on this calling if I didn't poke the bear. I think when it comes to performance and what we give and how we show up, I think we show up well to our jobs. I think the places that probably suffer the most are our church homes and our families.
I agree.
I think that's who suffers the most. And I don't know why we do that. I don't know if there's a lack of commitment, a lack of responsibility, accountability. But for some reason, it's easier for us to give ourselves time in reflection to those areas as opposed to work.
So you know what I think? Because I think at the job, we are being, versus in those relationships, we are doing, or the opposite. At the jobs, we are doing, and in those relationships, we are being. So when we are doing at the job, then we show up, like what you just said, we show up in a better way, versus in those relationships, we show up and we are being, versus the doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how do we become well-rounded in that?
I really think it takes God, again, the self-assessing.
Yeah, you got to self-assess.
The self-reflecting.
Yeah.
And what we said earlier, letting people tell you how you showing up without you being offended.
So here's my thing. Self-assessment is good when we are like William Shakespeare, to thy own self be true.
Right?
But it's not good when we give ourselves a pass and we overlook things, because sometimes we overlook things that really need to be addressed. So I think it's awesome. You know, the Bible says there's safety in a multitude of counselors. I think it's awesome when you have people around you that you can ask about you, and you know that and you give them the permission to tell you the truth, because you know that they love you enough that they will tell you the truth,
even if the truth hurts.
Man, that's how we heal. Because if we don't get the truth and know where we need to bring that part of our life into alignment, then what happens is we go through life still broken, still dealing with patterns, still dealing with all these different things, and we never become healed.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that sometimes people will tell you where they're hurting, but they're not seeking healing. They just want to be heard. And I want to show up and be heard. I want to show up and you tell me, I say, girl, how your day going? It's rough today. Well, let me tell you, mine rough too.
Does being heard disrupt the healing process? I just want to be heard and not be healed?
I think it goes back to what you just said. If I just want to be heard.
Yeah.
See, if I just want to be heard, then that means you just want the attention. You just want the attention. You just want somebody to focus on you so they can hear what you want to say. But healing takes place in private places.
It does.
It takes place in private places. And then when people see you publicly, they say, I thought you was going through. Girl, let me tell you, God showed up and showed out. Why?
Because you were committed to the process.
That's it.
We got some comments in the chat. This is good conversation, and we about to be done. But I have to say, thank you all for just being a part of this. I want to read some of your comments real quick. Patricia says, if we show up better outside our family, we are being hypocrites.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
Robin says, some people bring themselves into a situation where they are at
a trigger point.
A trigger point, meaning having the mentality, if one more person, X, Y, Z, I'm going to clash out, and that person inflicts their frustrations, lack of managing themselves on others, which causes more friction and conflict.
Ooh.
Self-awareness is crucial.
Man.
I love that.
Amen.
That's real good. Look, y'all, this has been good conversation. This is our first Coffee and Conversation podcast episode. So we're filling this out, really trying to see what kind of feedback and what kind of response we're going to get.
Mhm.
And then we can adjust accordingly. But let's end this while saying progress matters more than progression.
Yeah.
Progress matters more than perfection. I'm
Perfection.
sorry. Your presence still has value even while you're healing.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So give them a closing real quick, husband, so we can get out of here on time.
I just want to encourage you all just to continue to assess yourself, continue to surround yourselves with people that love you, and trust them enough to tell you the truth so that you'll know what adjustments need to be made.
Wow.
All right. Well, join us here again when we come back for
Coffee and Conversations.
Until then, we will see you again.
Coffee and conversations. Real talk, real life, real faith. Coffee and conversations.